Why isn't anyone talking about this? The fact that Judge Juan Merchan, the judge that's overseeing Donald Trump's hush money campaign finance trial in New York and is set to deliver the former president's sentence just days before the Republican National Convention, well, he's been cautioned by an actual official state ethics panel over 2 donations made to Democratic aligned groups in 2020. So get this, guys, according to this, the campaign from more than a year ago was discussed with a caution. But wait a minute, it's still a pretty questionable matter though, right? This is the judge that's basically determining the future of the Republican presidential nominee. And last I checked, judges are prohibited from contributing to any campaigns, including for federal office. Now, if it weren't already bad enough, I also found out that the New York State court that will decide former President Donald Trump's appeal, it includes justices that have a history of donating to Democratic campaigns, and they were elected to lower court judgeships as Democrat candidates before their appointments to the appellate court. Now, did they just happen to donate to Republican candidates? Nope, not a one as far as they checked. So you see how this is cause for concern for many Trump allies, right? For one, Representative Elise Stefanik is demanding an investigation into misconduct surrounding the assignment of Judge Juan Merchan to former President Donald Trump's criminal trial. It's pretty shocking, actually, if you think about it. So Stefanik brings up the very reasonable complaint that Judge Juan Merchan, out of the so many judges available, was assigned not just one case, not just 2, but 3 New York cases against former President Donald Trump and his organization. Now, what are the odds? Acting Justice Juan Merchan currently presides over the criminal case against President Trump, brought to you by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Acting Justice Juan Merchan also presided over the criminal trial against the Trump organization and will be presiding over the criminal trial of Steve Bannon, a senior advisor in President Trump's White House and a prominent advocate for President Trump. You see the problem here, guys? Representative Stefanik's complaint, whoever made the assignment intentionally selected Acting Justice Juan Merchan to handle them to increase the chance that Donald Trump, the Trump organization, and Steve Bannon would ultimately be convicted. Now, what do you guys think here? Could they be on to something? Well, we're going to make sure we look into all of this in our video today. All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. So here's legal expert Andy McCarthy talking about how Judge Juan Merchan may be under some very real pressure to jail Donald Trump. Check this out.
Is Merchan going to put Trump in jail, Andy?
Well, I think there'll be a lot of pressure on Merchan to have a jail sentence component to the sentence. I don't think he should. I don't think he should put former President Trump, give him a prison sentence. I think that would be really over the top in a case like this. But again, he'll have a lot of pressure to do that. This is a nonviolent felony in New York City where, as some of our reporting has shown, you have people who are committing really serious crimes, including assaults on police officers who are back out on the street and nothing flat. For a case like this, for a former president who is the de facto nominee of the Republican Party in the upcoming election, it seems to me it would be really ridiculous to put him in jail for a crime like this.
So we shall see.
You heard him, guys. We shall see. I mean, we shall see indeed, as there's probably really no mounting pressure from anyone but the Biden administration. But there's some serious questions about Judge Juan Merchan, the judge overseeing this Donald Trump trial in New York, and who's set to give the sentence on the former president just a few days before the Republican National Convention. For one, there was a complaint over 2 donations from Judge Juan Merchan that he made to Democratic aligned groups in 2020. A $35 donation to the Democratic group Act Blue that included $15 earmarked for Biden for president and $10 each to Progressive Turnout Project and Stop Republicans. Now, I know critics would probably argue that these are just small amounts, so it's no big deal. But the simple fact of the matter is that Judge Juan Merchan showing his true colors and nobody's paying attention to this. Or maybe they're choosing to ignore it because they have an aligned agenda. Because big or small, the bottom line is that judges are prohibited from contributing to any campaigns, including for federal office. And it was also enough for them at the State Office of Court Administration to not be able to dismiss the complaint cleanly. They had to dismiss it with a caution. And that caution is something that we need to pay very close attention to because it's getting out of hand, guys. The commission considers that contributions violate the rules on prohibited political activity. In its 2024 annual report, the body said several dozen judges had apparently made prohibited contributions in the last few years, mostly to candidates for federal office. So maybe they're forgetting that judges are supposed to be impartial and removed from politics. The commission even wrote in their report, making a prohibited political contribution is a self-inflicted mistake. Plus, this whole thing is shrouded in secret as commission guidelines proceedings are confidential unless there is a public censure or the judge makes them public. As Representative Elise Stefanik pointed out, the New York State Commission on Judiciary Conduct privately cautioned Juan Merchan in July over his illegal political donations to Joe Biden and Democrats in 2020. And yet, this private caution, it has not deterred Judge Juan Merchan's judicial misconduct as evidenced as this current complaint. So instead, Judge Juan Merchan, he appears driven by Democrat partisanship and financial gain for his daughter. Hence her formal ethics complaint against Judge Juan Merchan, saying it's imperative that New Yorkers and all Americans have the confidence that justice is being dispensed fairly in New York. Because some folks are saying that it's Judge Juan Merchan that needs to go to jail, not Donald Trump. What do y'all think about that? Oh yeah, we are so deep into this intense discussion about this judicial conduct surrounding these high stakes trials. But before we jump back into the details, I just want to take a quick moment here. If you guys are finding the content informative, insightful, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I totally appreciate you guys. All right, let's get back to it. But to make matters worse, it looks like the majority of judges at the New York Appeals Court who will be handling former President Donald Trump's appeal, they appear to have a track record of donating to Democratic campaigns. Also, these judges were Democrats themselves when they were elected to lower court positions before making it to the appellate bench. Now, interestingly enough, many of them, they made donations while serving in the lower courts, which is an apparent violation of the New York State Advisory Committee on Judicial Ethics rules that prohibits partisan political activities of sitting judges. So they know better. The records show that at least 14 out of 21 judges, guys, this is like 2/3 of the judges on the bench, made donations to Democratic campaigns and committees before they were appointed. And as far as we can tell, guys, there's literally no evidence of any donation by the justices to the New York State Republican, conservative, or even liberal parties or their candidates. And let me repeat, guys, these judges that I'm talking about, they're part of the first judicial department of the New York State Appellate Court, which is gearing up to consider Donald Trump's appeal on his recent conviction of multiple felonies. So consider this, all right? All but one of the court's 21 justices were appointed by New York Democratic Governor, either David Paterson, Andrew Cuomo, or maybe even Kathy Hochul. Now, the other exception is Associate Justice David Friedman. He was appointed by Republican Governor George Pataki about 25 years ago. A few judges, such as Ellen Gesmer and Jeffrey K. Owing, they were quite active in their support, contributing significant amounts of money to well-known Democratic campaigns and committees, even during their tenure as judges. Appellate Court Justice Ellen Gesmer, in 1998, she donated a total of $2,000 to Schumer's election bid, a total of $1,725 to Hillary Clinton's 2000 New York State Senate race, $1,700 to the New York State Democratic Committee and the Democratic National Committee, and in 2003, she chipped in $250 to support Dean's presidential campaign. Appellate Justice Jeffrey K. Owing, he gave $900 to the New York State Democratic Committee in 3 payments in 2003, according to FEC records, just 1 year before he was elected to the New York City Civil Court. So the state's judicial ethics rules, they clearly state, neither a sitting judge nor a candidate for public election to judicial office shall directly or even indirectly engage in any political activity that does not directly involve their own candidacy. The rules also prohibit judges from engaging in any partisan political activity or participating in any political campaign. And yet, we still see this. The range of donations from these supposedly impartial judges, it includes contributions to Democratic New York State Senate and Assembly candidates, party committees, and even local Democrat clubhouses, even as some of the judges served on the bench. So what do you guys think about that? Representative Elise Stefanik brought up another good point when she filed a misconduct complaint against Judge Juan Merchan, alleging that his selection to handle the former president's case and others involving his allies is not random at all. This was all planned, guys. Stefanik pointed out that Juan Merchan, who's also handling the trials for the Trump Organization, and Steve Bannon seem to be getting these high-profile cases more than just coincidentally. She's calling this pattern into question, especially since there are plenty of other judges who could have been picked. I mean, it's not like they didn't have other options here. Stefanik herself noted that there were at least 24 sitting judges eligible to oversee the cases, but Merchan, an acting justice, was selected for all 3 related to the presumptive 2024 GOP nominee for president and his allies. That's a little fishy, guys. And she makes a good point here. If justices were indeed being randomly assigned to the criminal team, well, the probability of 2 specific criminal cases being assigned to the same justice is very low. In fact, the probability of 3 specific criminal cases being assigned to the same judge is infinitesimally small, guys. And yet, we still see acting Justice Juan Merchan on all 3 cases. And like she said, one cannot help but suspect that the random selection at work in the assignment of acting Justice Merchan, a Democratic Party donor, to these particular cases involving prominent Republicans, it's not a fact of being random at all. But what do you guys think? This is why she's demanding an investigation into the anomaly and asks that anyone found to be involved in any sort of scheme to get Merchan on these 3 cases face discipline. Former President Donald Trump has also rallied against Merchan as a conflicted judge and previously called on him to recuse himself from the case, citing his daughter's work as a political consultant. According to the former commander-in-chief, Judge Juan Merchan, who's suffering from an acute case of Trump derangement syndrome and whose daughter represents crooked Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Adam Shifty Schiff, and other radical liberals, has just posted a picture of Donald Trump behind bars. Her obvious goal, and it makes it completely impossible for him to get a fair trial, has now issued another illegal, un-American, unconstitutional order as he continues to try and take away Donald Trump's rights. Trump was talking about the gag order, which bans him from publicly speaking about witnesses or making remarks about court staff, DA staff, or even family members of staff. Trump said Merchan could gain back respect if he dismissed the case. But what do you guys think? Would Judge Juan Merchan gain back your respect if he dismissed this case against former President Trump? Drop your comments down below. And if you haven't already, I highly recommend you guys subscribe to the channel. I totally appreciate you guys. Thank you for sharing these videos. We gotta stay vigilant. I'll see you on the next one.